Knox Country
Podcast Edition.
I've always been around great songwriters and artists my whole life. I'm Michael Knox. Welcome to my world.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Jason Aldean, and you are listening to my boy Michael Knox on Knox Country
Podcast.
Welcome to the Knox Country Syndicated Radio Show podcast. I'm here with Dallas Davidson. I've known Dallas 10, 12 years. Mm-hmm. And we got a lot of the same friends, a lot of same experiences in Music Row. But awesome to have him here. I mean, multiple number ones, I think 24 number ones. And he's had number ones spread out over the past 10 years, I guess, you know. And awesome to have Dallas here. Awesome because I'm a huge fan. I cut his songs. I go through his catalog. I do everything I can to get his songs first. I call his pluggers, and I think he's been through 3 pluggers now just because I keep complaining because I don't get the songs first. But now me and you've known each other 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Longer than 10 years, probably. I'm going to go with about 12 or 13 years.
Yeah, because we've always joked about how long it took Jason to cut one of your songs, which was "Tonight Looks Good on You."
That's right.
And I remembered, you know, because every album for like 2 albums, I would call for your entire catalog and start going through stuff. You know,
tried.
Which is a testament that he was cutting what he feels was best for what we do. But it was funny. He was like, "Is there anything else about Dallas? Is there any more Dallas songs that we can get?" And dude, I went through. I know your catalog better than your song pluggers. You know,
probably so.
I went through like for 3 albums, I was just conquering your catalog. But then "Tonight Looks Good on You," I want to say you sent it. Whoever did sent it to me and Jason at the same time.
I think I sent it to both of y'all. Yeah,
because I remember sending him a note saying, "Have you heard this yet?" And then he called me and said, "Man, I love this. This is my first single." And it ended up being, I think, a second or third single. But he freaked over that, you know. So that was finally that melody that he was always looking for on that "Tonight Looks Good on You."
He's a hard pitch, and you know, it proves another thing. It's not who you know. You still got to have the right song. I mean, guys like Jason and Luke and Kenny and all those guys that are on top, they're going to cut the best song. The best song still wins, I think, in this business, and that's good. That's living proof. Jason, I consider him a dear friend, and you as well. And I just couldn't get one in there, but finally wrote the right song. Yeah.
Well, but now your first cut. Now, the first time I got introduced to like the hit songwriter was that Honky Tonk Badonkadonk. Now, that wasn't was that your first cut?
You know, technically, Red Adkins recorded a song called "Kiss My Country Ass" with Hank Williams Jr., and then Blake did it. So technically, my first ever cut was that, but yes, then the first official major label cut I ever got was Honky Tonk Badonkadonk.
And that was huge.
That was a good way to kick things off. We set the bar a little high on that one, and
yeah, it's all downhill from there.
Yeah, that song almost never happened. I got a story for you. So I sent it to Mike Talaferro, who was managing Tracy Byrd at the time. And Bird heard it and liked it, but just wasn't quite sure about it because, in his defense, it's quite a polarizing song, we'll call it.
How different was the demo from how it ended up?
You know what? It was pretty close. That signature lick was there, but it had Jamie Johnson and Randy Houser singing the vocals back and forth on it. It was pretty goofy. Come to think of it, it was a lot different. We had a lot of fun with it. Let's just say that. But Tracy Byrd had heard it, and he thought he might do it, he might not do it. Well, then Trace heard it and said, "I'm doing it." You know how Trace is. Get out of the way. I'm cutting this song. And then Byrd kind of rallied back, and he wanted, and it almost didn't get recorded because they wound up both wanting to have it. And Trace finally said, "Well, you know what? The heck with it. I ain't even going to cut it." So I almost didn't get that song recorded because 2 people wanted it.
Yeah. And the producers were fighting over a little bit of the credit.
Scott Hendricks and Dan Huff, and that was quite a debacle too. That did not help our cause getting. It was all 3 of our first songs. Jamie Johnson, Randy Houser, and myself. It was all 3 of our first big deals.
What a monster! I mean, what a monster first cut.
Yeah, it's I hear it on the radio still about once a week. I mean, obviously, I see my royalty statements on it, and it's a nice song. It was an impacting song. It people loved it or hated it, but most people, I think, loved it, and it's just fun and let your hair down, and
But you got on a big string of just a lot of cuts there for a while. I mean, where it was just like getting embarrassing.
Yeah, well, I never got embarrassed, but no, I had quite a run, and I'd like to think it's still going. I've back from 2000 probably 6 when that song was a hit until really a couple years ago. We're just writing stuff, and people really gravitated towards it. People started just recording, 1 out of 3 songs I wrote, 1 out of 4 some years, and it's crazy. It's been crazy.
But your demos, man, when I heard your demos, it sounded like an artist, and that's the neat thing about our format is that our artists become fans of the songwriters and what y'all do and how y'all sing it. And back in the day when I was pitching Jeff Stevens' catalog, George Strait used to sing his cuts like Jeff.
Right.
They become fans of these guys and they become fans of yours. But now those friendships have those fanships have grown into big friendships now over a long period of time. And I know you said before that you knew Luke way before.
Right.
But y'all didn't know Luke was going to be Luke Bryan.
No, we all, you think every hometown hero is going to be a star, but in hindsight, how did we know? But here when you hear another artist sing one of your songs like you did on your demo, that's a pretty good pat on the back. I always take that as a compliment, and man, I just sing them how I feel, and I guess people like it.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say too, Michael has said on many occasions, your demos, Neil Thrasher, David Lee Murphy.
Wow.
How do we beat those? And I've heard the artist in the studio kind of struggle. It's like, well, I don't sound as cool.
Oh,
it's. I mean, it happens.
I can teach him. If you need some vocal production, I will tell him just sound not as good as you probably can. See, I can't sound as good as them, and that's why it sounds cooler. That's the truth of the matter, Shalacy.
And Rodney Clausen's demos are kind of hypnotizing. Like his are like this thing where it doesn't maybe it doesn't go anywhere on the meter, but boy, it's really traveling melody wise. It's all over the place.
And the gravel in his voice too.
I would have to agree that the people, David Lee Murphy for sure, Neil Thrasher for sure, Rodney, and then I'm gonna go with Tony Lane probably.
See, I don't get a lot of his vocals pitched.
Oh man, it's crazy.
But I mean,
I try and sound like him.
Yeah. See. But when Jason comes up, our bread and butter, man. The thing we pat ourselves on the back is that we don't chase what's going on.
Right.
We go to our bread and butter and try to stay with what makes him. Every now and then, 1 or 2 songs will wander around. But we won't wander an album. So when we come around, I start off with guys like you, Neil, Rodney, David Lee Murphy, and we got to have those bases first before we can start experimenting. And then the FGL guys are starting to pop in there a little bit, but I think they're cheating. They're driving out to his house.
That is cheating.
And playing his stuff.
I know where Jason lives too. Maybe I should do that.
He got that gate up now. We got to get that code.
We can get over the gate. We'll do like Christopherson and land a helicopter in his yard.
But now, one of my favorite songs of the past few years is that Huntin, Fishin, Lovin Everyday. I remember the first time I heard it, he played it live on the awards, like debuting it. And man, I remember looking behind me to the producer, Jeff Stevens and those guys and his son, and said, man, how did we not get this song? I love this song. That's probably one of my favorite Luke Bryan songs, period.
Well, thank you. That's, one of the main reasons we didn't send it to Jason is because Luke's a writer on it.
Yeah.
And the old Leesburg, Albany, Georgia connection with me and Luke, I'd be lying if I didn't say I don't pop them over there to him in a timely manner. We'll say that. But thank you for liking that song, because that truly is one of my it's definitely one of my favorite songs. But I would say for that song to be a hit in this genre, I couldn't be prouder of that, because I knew people would like it because I'd already tested it out on my buddies back at home and my buddies around here, and they loved it. And it's speaking the language of a group of people that is not a small group of people. It's a massive group of people. And for Luke to put it out on the radio and to play it, man, that was definitely a series of miracles there. I didn't see that one coming. I thought
but those chord progressions too, man, and everything. It's funny that was a risk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that's so small town America.
Yeah.
So bread and butter.
It is.
Of what country music is. And it's funny. It was such a risk with what was going on radio, because we're in such a power mid drum loop world.
Right.
You know, and I can tell you didn't have a loop guy in the room.
No, that was on an old Gibson guitar there, buddy. That was old school. We wrote it on guitar. Can you believe it? Hey, y'all, this is Dallas Davidson. You're listening to Knox Country
Podcast.
Well, do you find yourself these days, we were joking earlier that, like, when your friend Red Adkins came out, he was a boy in a man's world.
Right.
Now, there's a lot of men trying to write for a boy's world.
Uh-huh.
Do you find that hard for you, or do you?
I just turned 40, so I kind of, what I've done, and I'm telling my secrets here, is I've surrounded myself with younger people. My publishing company, Play It Again, we've got 5, 6 young writers in their 20s, and I'm writing with them. And of course, I'm the old bulls teaching them some tricks too, but they're keeping me kind of young and hip and with some of the language. And when it comes to hunting, fishing, loving every day, I got that. I don't need any help on that one. But it's a little bit scary that the older we get, the less cooler we are as songwriters, and But I mean,
your passion, you love all genres of music, right?
I do. And that's helped me entirely. I would say that's given me a huge advantage, because some people can name you every 90s country star, every 80s country star. Well, I can't. I heard them on the radio and loved it, but I can probably name you 6 different genres worth of people where people are so proud of that they know so much about country. And hell, I do too, but I didn't.
I mean, looking at your list of songs, I mean, you travel.
Well, it's been a musical ride, and growing up where I grew up and going to school where I went to school, you hear different, you're exposed to so much different stuff. And particularly me, I kind of latched on to some different things just by chance, and it's really shaped me as a writer, the different styles of music.
Yeah, but your lyric is what's always kept you home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the lyric remains country, absolutely, entirely. And that's something you just can't. You can be influenced on the way you talk.
But us growing up, you lived it. Mm-hmm. You didn't learn it.
Right.
And that's what you're talking about a minute ago, where kids today, it's cool to wear John Deere.
That's right.
But I doubt that they've really ever been on a John Deere tractor and cut the grass.
That most likely have not. And I just planted 50 acres of soybeans yesterday, the day before, so I can assure you that I know how to do that stuff.
Yeah.
10 and a half hours on a John Deere tractor. But man, I think you can really, I tell you this, a country music listener can tell in an instant if you're faking it or if you're real. Now, I'm not saying that every country singer has to drive a tractor or be this Tony Lama wearing cowboy, but people can tell when you are faking it. And it starts with songwriting. When you're writing a song and you're trying to write something that you have not experienced or know nothing about, it never comes across. Yeah. And that's where I've been very lucky to have grown up the way I did, and several other of my buddies. When we get together, like Rodney Clawson, great example. When Rodney and I write, it's like, yeah, I did that too. Let's go. Let's talk about it. And it translates really well, and it hits that audience out there that did it too.
But you come from a generation of writers that will sit in a room and co-write. Mm-hmm. A third was outrageous. It would happen once in a while. Yeah. Like when you did the Peach Pickers, but that was just a group of buddies saying, "Hey, we're going to take this down together." But today, it's 3-way plus a track guy all of a sudden. And do you find that happening because it's a shortcut for some people? It's not when you got a track guy there, it's not a lot of work anymore. Do you find yourself maybe shortchanging the outcome of the song a little bit? I'll
tell you exactly my thoughts on that. And it starts with the publishers pushing in their writers to get in to a writing appointment with a guy with a name or a girl with a name. So, for instance, somebody would push, say I've already got a 2-way with me and my track guy. All right. They're going to push in another hit writer with us just to, we're all busy. And then there's that one favor that's owed, and then the fourth guy gets pushed in the room. And that's why I think it happens, because people can't say no to it. Because the political correctness of co-writing. Who would have thought we'd be having this conversation? But because I had a long talk with Julie Griffith, who's my publisher now and runs my company, and I was like, Julie, me and Luke wrote Rain Is a Good Thing, 2 of us. Country Girl Shake It For Me was 2 of us. Play It Again was me and Ashley Gorley. It doesn't take 3 people, it doesn't take 4 people, and it dang sure doesn't take 5 people. I think it's just there's so much money at stake, if I'm being honest. There's so much money at stake in this business that we're getting people pushed in on us. Back to your track guy thing, I think that it's easier to dump somebody on track guys, if that makes sense. Like, well, it's just so-and-so, he won't mind if you bring in they need an extra person for lyrics. Well, a lot of those track guys actually write lyrics and melodies. Matter of fact, most of them do. So it's an interesting time we're in. I like it. I like being able to sit in front of a track guy and kind of be free of an instrument and not have to worry about what chord am I going to play today that sounds different than the one I played yesterday. Well, they've already got it, and it sounds live. It sounds like you're in the middle of a band, and it's inspiring. And then you just get to kind of be you. You get to be a singer.
Yeah, but you come from a school where you're a disciplined songwriter. Mm-hmm. And you don't live there. Mm-hmm. You visit there.
Right.
That's the problem, is that a lot of the new generation coming up, they live in that environment, and when you take that away, they struggle. But because they're so used to that help, that it's like going, man, you're a better writer than this. Because I had an instance where I could have sworn 3 people wrote this song, and when the label copy was turned in, there's 5 names on there.
Wow.
And then you start talking about it, going, well, man, what happened? Well, the guy sent us the track. Well, then where'd this other guy come from? Oh, well, he had the guitar riff on the track.
Yeah.
And you're like going, well, these, no offense. I mean, these aren't songwriting sometimes. Right. It's more like you said, well, man, they were in the room. And in Nashville way, hey, man, if you're in the room, man, something
word
motivated.
For a third. Yeah, now it's a word for a fifth.
Yeah.
It doesn't rhyme anymore.
Now it's word for a friend.
Knox Country Podcast Edition.
Some of you know me as a record producer for acts like Jason Aldean and Thomas Rhett. Others know me as the son of rock and roll legend Buddy Knox, Party Doll fame back in 1957. I'm Michael Knox. Welcome to my world. You're listening to Knox Country
Podcast.
Hey, this is Keith Urban.
What's up, y'all? It's your boys here, Florida Georgia Line.
Hey, this is Little Big Town.
And you're listening to Knox Country.
You've entered Knox Country.
Welcome back to the Knox Country Podcast.
No, I just find it interesting that you said, especially now having your own publishing company, that you did set those boundaries and say, look, for the sake of the song and the writers and the business, we're not going to have, you have to play politics. I totally understand. But I mean, that was sort of a big deal for you to say, as a business owner, a publisher.
Well, it comes across as you're greedy, but it's not because you're greedy. Here's what happens when somebody's in the room that doesn't need to be in the room. So you've got a 3-way, it's turned into a 4-way. There's that 4th person. There's no way that all 4 people can be on the same page. That's impossible. And I don't know how we got off on this subject, but I'll tell you what I think about it. The song suffers because too many people in the room. If there was 2 of us, we could figure it out. It would take longer. If there was 3 of us in the room, that's about the right amount of people. Somebody might be a little off, but at least over there talking, getting it going, when 4 people are in the room, I feel like you're trying to include someone to make them feel like they're doing something when they're not, instead of trying to make the song better.
Yeah.
So I've learned that the song suffers the more people are in the room.
Yeah. I agree with that. I agree with that. When we were looking for the They Don't Know record, I remembered us not having They Don't Know yet.
Yeah.
And I said, and I remember meeting with a group of writers and saying, hey, man, I need you to go off and write me a song without these loops. We don't have a show opener.
Right. So
they went off and they wrote They Don't Know. And then they came back and I said, holy crap, wasn't that easy? And
right.
So it's affected my song search.
Wow.
Everything's a power mid.
That's interesting to hear.
Everything's a mid-tempo or a power mid. It's hard to find, like, going back to where we were, hunting, fishing, loving every day.
That's just can't you see chords.
But the reason you love that is because it floats a different way. As a songwriter, you allowed that to float a different way. You weren't checking where you're supposed to come in and what's going on. You were just
because it was already there.
Yeah, you were just feeling it. And we're missing a lot of that, but that's why guys like you are in the position you're in, is because y'all are the guys still corralling talent and developing the next generation, and building that environment around you now, and that's why that works for you. Trust me, there's a lot of writers trying to do what you do, and it ain't working.
Yeah.
But there's a reason why yours works, because you have the experience that you have and have put it into play.
Well, we're learning the whole track deal now. I mean, it's a continuous effort. Craig Wiseman, he's probably the first person I could think of that has done it all. He was there in the 90s. He was there through the 2000s, and now, I mean, I wrote with him and Riley Green, a new artist on Big Machine, and Friday or Thursday, and Craig's over there working his drum loops and stuff, and still got his little $200 guitar playing gang 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 gang, Craig stuff, and so that he's doing it all, and it's fun. Man.
Yeah, and I don't think it's bad. I mean, there's a lot of great songs done that way. It's kind of like what they always said about the term bro country. Everybody asked me, man, who do you think bro country is? And I said, everybody after Jason. Yeah. It's the ones trying to be Jason. And I said, the guys who invented this loop stuff, no offense, Craig Wiseman was one of those guys, because I remember his being the earliest ones I would get as demos, where it's like, man, this is cool. What is this? But Craig's mastered that, even Sam Hunt's done very unique things, that way, with his camp. But FGL's kind of made the biggest impact with it, and everybody trying to be them are the ones that are maybe coming up short a little bit.
That's right. Because there's only one FGL, and they got it, and they did it, and they nailed it. Yeah, that's back to the point of trying to fake it, man. They know, the people, the Bubba knows.
But do you feel that a lot in our format? Over the past few years, I feel the separation of small town America. I feel it not being in our format as much as it needs to be, and then everybody's like, hey man, we're not selling records like we used to, and I'm like, well, there's a little bit of a disconnect. Yeah. It's funny that Luke can sell, Jason's
selling a lot right now too.
And I mean, but those guys are selling, but they have that lifestyle in their shows, how they present themselves, how they talk, how they live, whatever. And it's funny, I'm seeing us kind of missing that a little bit in some of these new artists coming up. Might be a little more hipster than we need, I guess, for our format. So, I mean, are you seeing anything like that? Well, that kind of pushes you in a negative place, like, wow, man, I wish we had more of these guys.
Here's what I'm saying. The radio tells us we want country stuff. We want to play country stuff, and then you give it to them, and they don't, look, I Kind of Don't Care is out right now on Justin Moore. It's not really getting played. And I love the song. I didn't write it. I think Rhett wrote it and somebody else. But so you get told, write country, and you write country, and you can't get it recorded, and you can't get it played when it does get recorded. All right, so let's go write some love songs, mid-tempo ballads or mid-tempos and to a drum loop, and
that gets played through the roof, And
then a Small Town Boy comes out on Dustin Lynch, and it's a massive hit. massive hit. There's a reason it's a massive hit. It's because, like you just said, it related to. You said there's a disconnect that reconnected them.
Yeah, but it infused a couple of things.
It did. It kind of covered all the bases, and the music was, for some reason, I don't know. My writer wrote that, Kyle Fishman, and I don't know what they did that day, but it was just magic and everything about that song. But those are hard. You can't just go write that song.
Yeah.
It's frustrating because we know what we think we know. What I think I know what people want to hear.
Yeah.
Because I know what I want to hear, and I still talk to my buddies down in Georgia every day. There's 3 or 4 of them I talk to on the phone every day, and I know they talk about music and what the songs they like. And the songs they like are Chris Stapleton, Jason Lou. They like the country guys. I think the pop country stuff, which I've written, had success with, like it as well.
Yeah.
That's not getting your true country fans, but it's getting music lovers, so I think it's good for everybody, especially as a songwriter. I can write a song one day about a love song one day, and the next day I can go write a song about hunting, fishing, and make a living at it. So I like the fact that we've got a melting pot in our genre.
Yeah. And that's the great thing about country music right now is that it's the most diverse format. Out of all formats out there, ours is the most diverse, and the guys who bring it home or the girls who bring it home are the lifestyles of the artists that are performing it.
Right.
And because I listen to a lot of different genres. I got daughters that are 21 and 18, so I'm hearing everything,
Yeah.
So when I'm hearing all that come through, it's funny. A lot of pop stuff, kind of sounds like commercials.
Yeah.
They're 20 seconds repeated 4 times.
Right.
And then when you hear country music, you hear a little bit of that in there, but then you hear these other things, and then you hear a hardcore singer-songwriter, and then you hear a really cool loop guy, and then you hear a band, but it's all different flavors of music. It's crazy because out of all the styles of music, you can do pop, you can do rap, you can do R&B, but then when you say country, it's like 5 different things.
Yeah, country is everything except probably death metal, I think. And we've got some ex-death metals in our genre. I won't name their names, but it's funny how that works. Yeah, country is really popular music. If you want to say pop music is popular, really, to me, country is the pop music of our life.
Yeah,
or at least right now, this is everything: rock and roll, hip hop.
Well, we're the most stations across the USA. I mean, we got more country stations than any other format, and it's funny how that's kind of always pushed aside a little bit, where we are the voice of kind of music.
The masses.
Yeah. And, so I want to talk about other songs. I want to do things like we've touched base on your beginning, the Honky Tonk. We've touched base on Tonight Looks Good on You. I mean, when you started out with the Peach Pickers, I'm sure you guys just did it because y'all were buddies and just started writing and it was easy. What was the first big hit y'all had as a three-way where y'all were like, wow, man, this is something that we could really do something with this?
It was Put a Girl in It on Brooks and Dunn.
Yeah.
And let's see. Yeah, that was our first hit, Put a Girl in, and Give Me That Girl was the next one. And then it was just crazy after that. We started writing every Wednesday, and we wrote every Wednesday for 10 years, up until just recently, and we're getting it back together. Y'all
started making too much money to hang out with each other.
I will take full credit for the momentary collapse of the Peach Pickers Wednesday writing appointment.
Were you Yoko?
I Yoko'd it a little bit.
Guys, I can't write today. I got to go get my Porsche worked on.
I didn't have to get a Porsche worked on.
I have so many checks to bring to the bank.
I did have a Bentley, but no, I moved back to Georgia. I don't even know if you knew this, for probably 6 or 8 months. I just kind of got burned out, and I checked out. I sold my property here, sold my house, rolled back to Georgia down in Leesburg, and I just moved back. This April was a year ago. So
did you stay a year?
So yeah.
Wow.
So a year. This past April, last month or whatever month it is, I moved back a year ago.
Did that make a big difference?
It got recharged on my batteries. It was a good move, but it screwed up our Wednesdays because that's how busy we all are. They were like booked out a year to get us back on a Wednesday. Yeah, they weren't.
Well, yeah, and Ben, Ben's a coach now.
Coach Hayslip, that's what I call him.
Hayslip,
and Rhett's married, so hey.
But Rhett's also mentoring his son.
Yes, he is.
Well, he's got the
great
grandkids.
Thomas Rhett.
You think Thomas ever comes in going, "Come on, Dad, I've sewed more than you. I don't need to listen to you anymore"? Absolutely.
I think he thinks it. I don't know if he said it yet because he's a good kid, but yeah, of course. Yeah, and Red will take full credit for it. And I like to mess with him and say, "Boy, good thing Thomas Rhett's mom did a good job raising him. He sure did turn out good." He's like, "Come on, man, give me a little something." I'm like, nope, never.
Hey guys, it's Shalacy. Check us out on the web at knoxcountry360.com or on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at knoxcountry360.
So your company, you were talking a few weeks ago that you might move back down Music Road.
You know what? We're staying downtown. I just once I got my when I moved back from Georgia and kind of started showing up at the office every day again, I started digging it, and we're gonna stay down on Fifth Avenue, and we're a block away from the tourists, the people that buy our records and T-shirts and everything involved in country music, and it's nice to be down there amongst them, and every now and then walk down the street, get a hot dog and talk to them and watch them and see how excited they are to be in Nashville, and it kind of translates back into the song you write that afternoon, knowing that somebody is taking time off of work and away from their family to come to Nashville because they love country music that much. Yeah. So that's why we're down there.
Well, I've been a big believer that all the guys that have success, not the guns for hire, but the guys that are actually moving the needle are still fans. Are just fans of what they do, fans of their format. It's not a business as much as it is. Don't get me wrong. Like you said, man, they have no problem standing in that environment, and they're not the guys getting escorted through a room. Right. They just walk in the room, and it's like, whatever. If I want to leave, I can leave. I don't need an escort. You know? So I find that being huge, and that's why I like guys like you, man, because I can tell y'all are still fans. I can, and that's why we love cutting y'all songs, because every time we do, man, it's always personal.
Well, we thank you for cutting our songs for sure, and you've been real good to me, especially.
Well, when you find yourself leaving for lunch, do you go, "I'm going to go to Blake Shelton's bar," or Alan Jackson's bar, or FGL's bar, or now Aldean's bar? I mean, do you find yourself going, "Who's going to give me a free lunch card?"
I need to do that. I need to text them on a group text and say, "Listen, guys, I really want to help advertise your bars, but I'm going to need some vouchers for lunch."
I told Jason, I said, "Hey, man, you got to name."
Jason's too tight. He wouldn't do it.
Well, I told him, I said, "Man, I need that free lunch card," and he doesn't text me back or nothing, Hey. I'm just trying to get him to name a drink after me, but since I'm
describe your drink.
Yeah, since I'm a lightweight, my drink is like a half pina colada, half strawberry daiquiri, and what Jason wanted to call it, I can't repeat it on radio. I wanted to call it the Knox, and I was like, "Hey, man, people come in and order this all over the world," and Jason goes, "Hey, let's call it this." And I can't repeat that one.
I can only imagine what he would have said. It ain't the Hard Knocks.
Well, he does want to put my New Balance in my white tennis shoes I've been wearing for 25 years.
They need to go in the Country Music Hall of Fame. Those New Balances have seen some records, buddy.
All right, so you've been doing stuff a long time. Is there something that you're still missing? Is there something you're still like, "Man, I wish I would have wrote with this guy. I wish I would have done this," or I still have an opportunity to do this and I still want to do it?
I think I'm in the process of doing something I always wanted to do, which is to break an artist. I could say I've broke artists by my songs, which I think you'd agree with.
Yeah.
But I mean to truly be hands-on from day one. We've got a new artist named Trey Landon, and he's over at Warner Brothers now, and just signed his big old deal. But I've always wanted to. And I waited 14 years till I actually found that artist that I thought I was going to put my time and effort in. And this has been really fun. It's been adventurous because it's kind of a world I hadn't been in. But to take an artist all the way through and write songs with him and have my friends write with him, and so hopefully he'll have a single out soon. That's something I've always wanted to do, and it's literally happening now.
That's awesome. Now, are you wanting to get into management?
I think as a publisher, you kind of are a manager, as you very well know. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Because it does put you in a different place where you are working for them sometimes instead of beside them.
Yeah.
When you're creative with them, you're always beside them. But for some reason, right when you walk into management, everybody thinks you work for them. And
that's correct.
And your opinion drops just a hair, and you're like, well, no, we got to keep this creative focus going on.
That's very well said. Yeah. The whole management deal is, I'd rather kind of develop them in a small management way and then hand them off.
Yeah.
To a Clarence or somebody.
Yeah. Well, and let them get all the money.
That's right.
Yeah,
let them make all the money. I'll take my little publishing money.
But, Dallas, awesome to have you on the show, dude.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me, man, and thanks for always being so good to me and looking in my catalogs and recording my stuff. And I'm a big fan of yours, so thanks for having me.
I appreciate it.
Knox Country.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Knox Country Podcast. Special thanks go out to co-host Miss Lacey Griffin and producer Donnie Walker. See you next time.
You've entered Knox Country Outtakes.
So this will be us three talking, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And I'm just going to chime in.
You're the chimer.
She's going to make sure we don't forget stuff or whatever.
Or see something shiny and go off.
I'm bad about shiny. I'm like a little raccoon. Anything shiny, I pretty much will buy it, fish with it.
Yeah, but I was in Ashland City at that time, so all we did was do a huge bonfire out in the backyard, and you burn it until it quits burning and hope it doesn't make to the line of the trees.
That's
down there on the river. Will it burn toward the river or toward the trees? And that's what we did.
Oh, love it.
Did you do the watermelon crawl?
If you drink, don't drive, do the watermelon crawl, but he never specifically said how to do it. He told you how to drink the watermelon wine, but he didn't tell you.
I'm sure after you drink enough of it.
I mean, you did kind of like, don't. You did your steps to it, but that was technically, we should Google that. I don't know if they had video cameras back then, but.
I've seen some people attempt, some different versions of the watermelon crawl.
I bet you could call a handful of my closest friends and they would tell you I have definitely done the watermelon
You've done some kind of crawl.
Yes. Oh, Lord, you're going to make me write it. Let's see.
Sorry.
That's quite all right. That's my job.
Where's the guitar?
Hang on, bring that loop guy in here.
Hey, I got you. Hey, y'all, this is Dallas Davidson, and when I'm not hunting, fishing, and loving every day, I'm listening to Knox Country 360.
That's awesome.
I love it. That sounds like we're good. That's awesome, dude.
All right.
Yeah, man, that was great.
Sweet.
Knox Country Podcast Edition.